And the theme of today's discussion is nomad communities, physical spaces, and challenges and opportunities facing the nomad community. So we'll have everybody introduce themselves individually, and then we'll get into it.
Hey everyone, so my name is Zach Milburn. I'm the founder of Nomad. We're building a global co-living ecosystem of high quality, affordable housing communities throughout the world, beginning with a few ground up co-living village developments, one of which is just about a minute up the road from here by car. So if it sounds interesting to you, feel free to come check it out with us this weekend. We'll be up there. If not, we have a website. It's nomad.homes, H-O-M-E-S. We have our socials on there, and our housing is actually the product, so the visuals are sort of important for context. But we do also have a membership community. We meet once per quarter somewhere throughout the world. We offer perks and discounts both within our physical spaces and online. And our members can rent, build, or buy our homes today, our units. We call them nodes. So we have a licensing model. You can actually bring your own land and build our product on it. And it does very well. So we have like hundreds of 5-star reviews on short-term rental platforms where people are very like ecstatic about it. It's a cool product. Our last round of units in our Raleigh village where we're located appraised at over double the build cost, which is pretty unheard of, especially in like this market. So just something to keep in mind if you're interested in it. From like a boring real estate standpoint, it pencils out very well. So yeah, and I'll finish up real quick, but we sort of joke that we have like the least original idea in this space and name as well, obviously. But we basically, if you live the remote work nomad lifestyle for long enough, almost everyone comes to like the same conclusion that there's this sort of missing middle product segment in the I'll call it hybrid hospitality space, something in between like an Airbnb and a hotel. And it's not just like lack of community, but Airbnbs are really nice. I would say they're the product of choice. But if you're traveling a lot and bouncing around from place to place, it gets very fatiguing. And hotels, on the other hand, like offer that consistency, but they're very expensive. Like you wouldn't really stay at a hotel for more than a week. They usually don't have a kitchen. You can't bring like friends and family over to hang out there and whatnot. So we targeted that segment to begin with, although we do feel like we have a product that is it's potentially viable solution to the affordable housing crisis in the United States, at least.
Okay, and so we have one down the street, the Nomad, that people can go check out, the co-living.
Yep. Tomorrow,
we're gonna
probably.
Tighten up these rocket pitches to
good to meet
60
you guys.
seconds. And let's get the intros out of the way.
Hi everyone, my name's Daniel. I am a CEO and founder of Nomad Collective. We are one of the largest digital nomad communities. We started off doing pop-up villages around the world, actually in the peak of COVID, and now we are running in 35 countries this year. And I think probably the most important thing to talk about is that this movement is growing, and I think it will intersect and ultimately align with the network society movement as people progress through this lifestyle and start to look for something more permanent, but they don't want to go backwards. So for me personally, families, real estate, land, regeneration are kind of top of the list as we progress through this journey called life.
Cool. Hey everyone, my name is Joey Langenbrunner. I am the CEO and founder of Nomad Layer, a company that is registered here in Prospera. And essentially what we are building is the tax residency layer right here. So if you are a perpetual traveler, digital nomad, and you're not sure where do I pay taxes, especially when I left my home country, then essentially we're building like kind of like a SaaS model where you just kind of order your tax residency certificate remotely. And I know this is not nearly as like, let's say like a sexy topic as everyone else here on this, but we are kind of like the lesser of the evil in a way, you know? So we try to make it the most convenient way to pay taxes. And then we try to give it, try to give value back, to you guys in the form of community, residencies, companies and a few other things. And we're definitely looking to partner with everyone up here in each unique way in that. But yeah.
Hello everyone, I'm Gonçalo, Portuguese. I'm a Nomad for 8 or 9 years, who knows. I built the first Nomad village, a project with the government of Madeira, which attracted overall around 75,000 Nomads in over 3 years, over 200 million investments. And then I replicated the project all over the world with governments. So my focus right now, working with governments, building destinations. If you want to check what I write, Destination Architect is my Substack, where I write about destinations, why most of us here are failing in attracting people and foreign direct investment, and what we need to do better in the future. Since then, I worked with Rio de Janeiro, Nagasaki, built the first Nomad village in South America in a little beautiful town called Pipa, which you should visit. It's beautiful, it's crazy. And yeah, Cabo Verde in Africa, so I think I touched 4 continents already. We'll see if we can do Greenland sometime soon. But yeah, that's it. Basically, my focus right now is here in Prospera. I work for Prospera. I'm the CEO of Roatan Tourism Bureau, trying to attract more people to Roatan so we can attract more people to Prospera. And I try to work and help as many people and governments as possible.
Very cool. So, funny observation for the audience here. Everyone's project, let me just run through the names so you get the joke here. So we have Nomad X, we have Nomad Layer, we have Noma Collective, and we have Nomad Co-Living. So we have 4 Nomad in the name projects.
Super original.
Super original, but we know our target market, I guess. And everybody's building in Prospera and in Honduras. Gonçalo is, Nomad Layer is. You're doing running retreats here too?
We have our first cohort coming that are all families in July. We've got 17 families coming, entrepreneurs, remote workers. So yeah, I feel like families are the key to make this thing work. So let's see.
Amazing. And of course, Zach with Nomad Co-Living is literally up the street. We've already broken ground, right? Things are happening. Yep. Amazing. So I think what's cool about this is that even though everybody has Nomad in the name, and the original view was that you earn US dollars and spend pesos, you don't really get involved in the local economy at all. But now we're kind of defying that, and people are getting involved in the local economy. We're improving things, we're contributing, which I think is amazing.
Yeah, for sure. I think one of the most important things in these movements is the appropriate relationship with the locals, and building that for a long period of time is probably the hardest but the most rewarding piece of this. I think also when you're going to go move somewhere more full-time, or at least spend at least half the year there, it's pretty important that you don't just sit around with people from your home nation.
Even inside the Nomad community, like for us, it's so important to connect with communities. And I will say the word community usually around 99 times per talk. And the reason is Nomads want to hang out with other Nomads, but only this works if we have a bridge to the local community. So on one side, you cannot expect that Nomads that spend 1 month in a certain place, let's say in Roatan, will actually be able to connect with the locals. That's an expectation that's incorrect, and that we should not be expected to do so unless, and that's where you all enter, unless we have a bridge, unless you have a person that acts between our community that travels every month, every 2 months, and the local community. And that's the power or what we need to do more in Prospera, in many of your projects, is building this bridge between the people that visit you and the locals. Nomads want to go to communities. We travel between communities, not between places. We want to integrate with the local community. We will never be able to do it alone. So if you act as the bridge and you build community, you are 70% ahead of everybody else, as that's what we and our community is looking for.
Anyone else want to speak on that?
So yeah, it's really interesting how each of us up here are essentially trying to create communities, but just in very, very different ways. So when it comes to like Nomad Layer, in order to build substance, like tax substance, you can tell your home country, hey, I'm paying taxes here. I'm a resident here. I'm not paying crazy 40 or 50% tax. I'm in Canada or the UK or something like that. One of the requirements, when I lobbied for this law, is essentially to have a minimum stay of 7 days where you come to Prospera. Because if you're nomading around, you need a community, and this is going to be your home base right here in Prospera Roatan. So when you come here for your 7 days, it's not a very long time, but what we're hoping is that you're going to stay here for 14 days, a month, 2 months, and start building a community here, because one thing that nomads really need is to have that community, because if you're always perpetually moving around, you need a home base, and what we want to do is create that home base right here in Prospera.
Yeah, so on the community topic, and this is something I'm kind of curious to hear what you guys think about. I feel like the nomad community in general is changing. It's actually just expanding, which was sort of inevitable. But I remember in the early days when, if you explained what a digital nomad was to people, they'd like kind of look at you weird, and it was a very sort of nascent new thing. At that time, a lot of the nomad community were sort of like builders who left by necessity or were using like geo arbitrage or leveraging it to build companies and things like that. So it was smaller, it was pretty tight knit. And people would move from like San Francisco or something, not just for the taxes, but because rent and everything's very high. If you're trying to build up some savings and start a business, it could take you years. So people would move to like Chiang Mai, and there was this very sort of like cool tight-knit builder community, and they were very rigid and like structured, and it was sort of different than what is happening, I feel like, today. Post-COVID, it exploded, and sort of everyone became, maybe not a nomad, but a remote worker. And so I'm also sort of navigating that, how we market towards the broader community. I sort of miss the early builder community. It's now maybe more normies and people with like fake jobs that move around, or trust fund kids are kind of the modern like jet setters. But I think Prospera is really cool because it reminds me of the early, the early OG nomads they were just doing these really fringe cool things, and they seem to have all sort of found each other again in this location. We were talking about that last night, so I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, I'm saying a lot now that the word digital nomad isn't the movement, it's actually like a stage in a much larger movement, and rather than it being kind of the end, it's the maximum expansion moment. So often when you start traveling, it maybe happens a little bit later in life, or you didn't have that in your early childhood. You start this travel and it's like amazing, the door opens, the floodgates open, so to speak, and you kind of go and you get the bug, but normally you meet someone, a loved one, you maybe think about having kids, and the needs and the infrastructure changes, and for whatever reason, because maybe it's just a nascent industry still, the words, the nomenclature, and the perception hasn't grown with the people. Like, I started digital nomading in 2012, I was 24. And now I have a kid, as you can see right here. So so I'm looking a lot more at like the next stages and trying to play around with words to define those. Gonçalo's using the word fractional living right now.
I invented it yesterday.
Yeah, he invented it yesterday. I've been playing around with this word. Multi-local, feeling at home in more than two places, and I do firmly believe that this idea of a multi-generational network society is where we all want to end up, and I think where people see this convergence between digital nomadism and why we're all here in this network state.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the digital nomad to expat pipeline, it's kind of, you guys are kind of saying that nomad is in some ways a misnomer, or it doesn't fully encapsulate everything involved in being like a, especially once you have kids, it's really more being globally minded, being international. And yeah, the word nomad, it kind of captures it, but doesn't go all the way.
I think we have like 100,000 nomads, not 36 million. So somebody actually said, somebody invented the number 36 million. And it's an invention. Peter Levels invented 1 billion and is quoted everywhere. So I'm inventing 100,000 because I can. So we are 100,000 nomads, clearly, as data shows. There is no data. And what you need to know about this is that there are, like they said, several stages, and it's kind of a timeline as well. But for your side, for me, what's interesting is that on the top level, you should be attracting fun nomads because they are the easiest target for most of you to move to a place. We already travel the world. We already are used to move. It's much easier to attract someone like us for 2 months than convince someone to move to wherever you are for a living and leave everything behind, their friends, their family. I would say that's a pretty hard ask. If you tell someone that already works remotely to spend 2 months in Prospero, sure, why not? Caribbean island, great weather, cool people, I'm in. Our goal, and my goal with government, is to transform these nomads, this 100,000, plus the 1 billion remote workers, and this is more accurate actually, and transform them into your pipeline. So okay, you come for 1 month to Prospero, you love it here, cool. Would you like to stay 6 months? Would you like to stay, I don't know, forever? And so I literally showed this to governments. This is a sales funnel. You come here for 1 weekend, you guys. Some of you already heard today the conversation, oh, I think I'll come back in July for Dan's event. I was like, oh, fuck, come on, let's go. And it's like, maybe then I'll buy a house here, and then maybe I'll spend some time here. And at the end of the funnel, what most of you are not thinking, it's the startup funnel. So we have nomads, expats. Most of you will invest. Most of you are entrepreneurs, so we'll invest eventually here, which is what we, Prosper, want. And then at the end of the funnel, that I think nobody was really able to build yet, maybe Tulsa in the US, Oklahoma, is to create a whole ecosystem between locals, nomads, and expats, where locals bring the locality to a location, you bring the culture, you bring the real vibe. Expats are the people who fell in love with the location, who bring their experience, their remote work, their money, and nomads bring the ideas. Because nomads are traveling the world, they are being fed with new ideas. I know so much more than normal people just because I traveled the whole world and I got to understand the whole world. So once you build the end of the funnel, that's where the magic happens. That's what all governments are trying and failing, except Tulsa somehow, and maybe Lisbon without trying, maybe. And that's what we are all trying to build here. And so you can cater to different people in different stages. Nomads are just the easiest targets on the top.
So all 5 of us kind of capture a different place in the stack. And so permit me. So basically, Roatan Tourism Bureau is going to convince me I should visit.
Yes.
And then I'm going to want to stay at Daniel's Noma Collective for a week or 2, do a retreat. And then I'm going to decide I want to live here, and I'm going to get a visa with my Latin life. And then I'm going to want to not keep paying taxes in Canada, so I'm going to get Nomad Layer tax residency. And then I'm going to need somewhere to live long term, and I'm going to go to Nomad co-living.
Full stack. 1 stage, full stack. Thank you, guys.
It's a really interesting point because I think when you look at industries that are a little bit more, I guess, further along than we are, there is this idea of a one-stop shop, kind of things are all solved and it's easy. And I think that's part of what we're building is maybe the early stage of a workationer, you could call it, or a digital nomad, there's kind of a one-stop shop, but you're still doing a lot of stuff on your own. And so I think ideally in 3 or 4 years' time, I don't know, this may land terribly or not at all, but in England we had this thing called moneysupermarket.com. I don't know what the relevant is in America, but before that period of time you could not have an easy cost-benefit analysis of utilities. And then they just put it all on one website, and suddenly it became commoditized, and you could just go on the website. And so then obviously what happened there is the prices became better because everyone was competing. And that was just the place where everyone went for the prices for that. And I think really what we need to build, we should probably speak about this, is our version of that, where you can, as you go through these different steps, it's kind of all there on a plate for you. Because I think we're still sitting in this frontier area where you're gonna maybe be okay with less comfort because you're ideologically aligned. And I think if we're gonna break into the mainstream, you need to kind of have that comfort and those amenities laid in, and it kind of on a plate.
We are lazy as fuck as well. If you are not giving us everything on the plate, we are not buying. Unless I have housing, co-working space, what I will work out, I'll figure it out, and I don't have to research, the easier it is for me to move to one place, the more chances there are that I'll go there. I want zero, I don't think our community wants zero friction. So when you are designing your product, think about that, because it's so important.
Yeah, I think that's becoming true, and more true. I do think, again, earlier, nomads used to be a little bit more, they would spend a lot more time planning or go to sort of riskier environments. I do want to echo his point that they are great early adopters. So if you do have special economic zones, I feel like I spoke to 5 people last night who all have one. That are new, and maybe they don't even have housing yet. But I they're a great top of the funnel, get people out there and get exposure and sort of prototype what you're doing. And that's sort of a good fit for us because we can pop these villages up real quickly, maybe bring a community or a portion of the community down there, test out a location. And then as you mature, you get more of the expat conversions, like nomad to expat, people who have children who want to maybe stay a little bit longer. They say like slow madding is the new thing, where you go somewhere and maybe spend like 3 months with your family. It's a higher investment, but it's easier on us. So.
Yeah. Hey guys, let's do a little audience interaction real quick. By show of hands, who's been in the water yet? Or who has not been in the water? Actually, yeah, who has not been in the water yet and is excited to get in the water here in Roatan? Who's not been in the water? Who's not been in the water? Almost half. So Roatan and Prospero, we need to think about this. We need to like incorporate it. We need to rent a shuttle bus or a school bus and get people into the water. You need to live the experience. We got to go see some sloths and toucans and go snorkeling and stuff like that so that people want to stay. You'll extend your vacation. You'll keep extending. You'll want to stay longer if we can think about that full experience and kind of thinking about it as like customer acquisition, right? And so you want people to have a really good onboarding experience, especially that first week, those first couple days. Think through every small piece of onboarding. And how can we get, and just baby step someone, right? Because no one goes from, okay, I'm here for a weekend how about I live here forever? That's kind of a baby step, right? And kind of we're touching each a piece of that stack.
I'd just say that, I think I've found in the 5 years I've been doing this with people that, very few people say, I'm just going to go live somewhere. That, we maybe do that, but we're crazy people.
And that's a terrible idea. You got to visit first, right?
Yeah. And the thing that I've noticed, and I actually saw it on a podcast, and I thought it was really interesting, is it's the first 5 minutes and the last 5 minutes, because that experience is what makes the difference. That entrance into it, and then how you end. And so I think, one of the things I'm seeing that would be really cool is we need to get more people who have a lot of experience in hospitality and a lot of experience in running large-scale hotels and resorts and things like that to come and start being part of the experience arm of these special economic zones. Because I think, again, it's the ideological people will come and they'll come regardless. But as you start to fill that top of funnel and try and avoid the churn, hospitality is probably the area that we should be hiring.
A point to your case, Prospero just hired the new CEO, is from hospitality, so we understood that. Message received, we hired.
Yeah.
Done.
I completely agree with that and what you said about basically the zealots will come, they'll come to the middle of nowhere and build a little community, but as you want to grow, you want to leverage, the great natural environments and whatnot. For example, in this location, I remember it was probably a year and a half ago, I was with Balaji in Dubai looking at potentially doing their first NS location over there. And I'd been there a few times and we were looking at some property out in the desert. I was like, oh, you have to come up the hill in the sunset and it's just such an amazing experience. And he was like, I've seen the desert before. Another look at it doesn't matter. But I think those things are very, very important because a lot of people who are slightly more maybe normie, I'd say remote workers and nomads are in that category. Your second layer of early adopters outside of the zealots, they are going to be looking for those things. And Roatan is just such an amazing place. Every morning I come here, I hop in the water and I snorkel. I do boat trips and fish and things like that. And I do find that a lot of people will come, they'll spend the week here and not do anything. Yeah. So we definitely need to get on that.
And I need a cigar, man. I need a Honduran cigar. Why is Prospero needs Prospero branded Honduran cigars?
Well, that shows the great opportunity here. It was if you come down here and you're slow matting, you're checking it out, there's so many opportunities to start businesses here. If it's another hotel, cigar and stuff like that, and even let's say the regulatory environment here and how free and liberty minded it is here, you can start so many businesses here because what makes Roatan, what makes Prospera stand out amongst any other Caribbean or like South Pacific or any other like tropical island out there, you know, it is because of the regulatory environment. So, you know, we can have cigars, we can have snorkeling, you know, but really what makes like the huge difference is like, how much money can we make here because of the regulatory environment, how freeing that is. Because like you want to bring your family here, but how can you support yourself? How can you bring money and investment here into Prospera and really help not just benefit people here in Prospera, but all of the island of Roatan as well.
Yep, and obviously pretty easy to start companies. Okay, so we got 2.5 minutes. Should we take a couple rapid fire questions? I think Mark had one.
Thank you. Obrigado. If there's a way to vest the early movers who come into a new location with very fractional shares in the upsides
Yes.
as that grows, and the people then organizing events that draw more visitors, they too get some increment in terms of the downstream opportunities opening up. There's 60,000 RVers who coordinate their vacations in a group called Escapees.
Yep.
And this spontaneously arose. They now have, I think, a dozen co-op owned places, parks that emerged
I have
out
an
of that.
Escapees address.
Great. So just in terms of opening up giant opportunities, 700 million people, according to Gallup, want to get out of where they are. And that was 15 years ago before the convulsions. So we're going to see if we can unlock crowd moves in a way that benefits communities and gives them an upside, the sponsoring communities, with vast amounts of real estate. Are there ways you see that the early movers can have stakeholding and also the communities that sponsor, to the degree that they're enriching this experience, they too have big upsides from giant areas?
Yeah.
100%. I think on the real estate piece, it's something that we're working on. I think communities coming together to collectively purchase or even potentially overlaying some subscription economics to lower the barrier to entry, having maybe some investors front the land and then have those large community members come together and vest with contribution and time, I think is something that I'm thinking about a lot. Often when I look at these beautiful buildings in Italy or France that are kind of like needing some work, that's where I think, well, you need to take 500 to 1,000 people there, and I think it would make that job a lot easier. I would even go one more though and say that like, my hot take in the next 5 years is that like a community like Noma that has like 4,500, 5,000 people, I think has maybe 2,000 of those that would be willing to maybe change their tax jurisdiction. And then if you were to then say, okay, you know, like it's great to have some LOIs of some companies, but what's the possibility of those, let's say 2,000 like reasonably, you know, like high net worth, you know, people coming together, banding together and committing to change their tax jurisdiction and then start paying taxes in like a new economic zone. Like I think that could make some serious, meaningful difference to a new zone, for example. So.
And we're out of time.
I just need to say 3 words. Traditional Dream Factory is doing exactly that.
Yeah, impossible.
And the cap table. You just like allocate 5% of shares to the community members and say, hey, for every night you stay, you get a share or something like that.
100%.
Cool.
Cool. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.